A lot of things streamers have asked for just don't come to the game at all. Here's a good example. Get rid of SBMM. Every content creator and streamer, they kind of stopped saying it because it's a losing battle. But back in the day, they used to say this all the time. We were one of them. But streamers also would be like, this SBMM sucks. Get rid of it. They didn't even come close to listening. Yeah, which I won't be doing, Jakin, at all. Super won't be doing. Because it doesn't matter enough. We'll talk about it in this episode. We are live! B's and G's, welcome to the Dropshot Call of Duty Podcast, episode number 515. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. Today I am once again joined by Tanner. Yeah. That is a small end table, and putting plants on it makes it even smaller, by the way. Did you know that?
You think? No, I didn't know that until you just mentioned it. Wow, that's crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, who knew?
I'm like, wow.
It's enough for crazy. You, though. You can fit your cups.
More than enough.
Yeah. Plenty, some would say. And anyway, welcome to the show. So today, we have some stuff to talk about. We will have some announcements, so stick around for the end of the show for those. But in the meantime, we're going to get into the meat and the potatoes kind of straight away. Now, normally what we do on Thursdays is cover patch notes, so changes that have already happened, and then any news on upcoming changes. So a blog post about Season 3 Reloaded, for example, is what we were hoping to cover today. We haven't gotten one. And patch notes we also haven't gotten. They haven't changed the game in 16 days, according to their
More info
website.
Next week.
But it's actually only been 13 days. Because I don't know. But I'll never fall for that trick again. So, yeah, not really anything we would normally cover today or this week. And I wish we did have particularly a Season 3 Reloaded roadmap or blog post to go into, because I am very, very curious what is going to be happening there, because we really have no idea. Usually we have a pretty good idea on what we can expect, especially in terms of like weapon balance, you know. And if this were almost any other time, I would say the HDR is obviously going to be getting nerfed, for example. Or like the AK is going to get nerfed. I'm quite confident on the AK front. I'm not sure what they're going to do with the HDR. And so I'm particularly interested to see what's going to happen or what their plans are with that for Season 3 Reloaded. But I'm also curious if we're going to start already getting the whatever little events. Like, are they going to open train station already? Are they going to open stadium? Are they going to put the train on the map? Are they going to do a new thing that they've never done before? There are a lot of questions, and I am looking forward to all of those. But unfortunately, obviously, we don't have that blog post to go over, so we won't be covering it. Maybe by Saturday, I would love to do that on Saturday. So if it comes before then, that's what we will do. But in the meantime, we figured we will go over some of the hot topics floating around Twitter and YouTube from various content creators about some discourse. One of them is going to be related to the HDR. Then a couple other ones are just kind of opinions people have. So the three videos we're going to go over today, or the three topics, we may or may not go over all the videos themselves. One is an XclusiveAce video on should the HDR be nerfed. Biggie Smalls gave me this idea, actually, friend of the pod. He posted in Discord this video and was like, I agree with this. So,
oh wow, okay,
we'll see what happens and what's said in there and give you guys our thoughts. As you probably know, mine and Tanner's opinion is it should be nerfed absolutely in some way, but it shouldn't lose its infinite range one-shot capability. So we'll see what Ace has to say. And then a couple other JGOD videos that are, again, part of a broader discourse, more related to, number one, are streamers ruining Warzone? And I'm very curious what that video says. That's what I'm most excited to get into. And then another one is on casual mode, because apparently people are still talking about this as if it matters at all. I remain firm in the position it doesn't, because fundamentally there aren't any good players in casual mode, so it doesn't matter. But we'll see when we go over it. So that's kind of what's on the docket for today. We will very likely be skipping around covering these, but we'll try to get the broad strokes. So I've got the Ace video pulled up.
It's pulled the fuck up for me too.
Oh, should I do a little... Okay, we'll just 3, 2, 1. Are you ready?
Yeah. Are you going to show it on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yep.
3, 2, 1, go. Does the HDR need a nerf in Warzone is the title of this
my name is
video.
Ace, and today I wanted to touch on a fairly hot topic when it comes to the Warzone side of things, and this is the HDR. Does it need a nerf in Warzone? And don't worry, when we're talking about the one-shot headshot potential at any range, I would say absolutely not. I don't want to see that touched at all.
So far, I agree.
This is an area that I think should remain as it is. And if anything, we should maybe get a few more slower firing bolt action sniper rifles with that same sort of potential. So it's not just the HDR that's capable of doing that.
I also agree with that.
Hopefully that alleviates some of the fears that I'm sure many that have clicked this video will have. I'm not advocating for a nerf to the one-shot headshot potential, because, well, it's probably not the most competitive thing to have one-shot sniper rifles like this, and there are some issues that come with it as well. I think the ability to have this one-shot to the head is key to the experience for many players out there, and it creates some really big, exciting moments and cool clips that you wouldn't see otherwise. And I think something they've learned over the years with Warzone is these fun and exciting moments should really be highlighted, and they should be one of the bigger focuses for the experience when it comes to Warzone, rather than finding perfect competitive balance. Now, obviously, there has to be some limits to that. There's got to be some semblance of balance involved as well.
No shit.
It can't be just all about crazy fun at the expense of balance. But one-shot headshots, at least with bolt-action sniper rifles, I think are a good thing. And one of the nice things as well, gameplay-wise, that I really like about the one-shot headshot is it allows for much better counterplay to those rooftop campers. And especially with the return of Verdansk, where we have a lot of rooftop campers. I think it's great that all it takes is one good shot with a sniper rifle to take those players out and take that height advantage away from them
because the HDR is really good.
Rather than having a prolonged fight where they had the height advantage the entire time. So that's my initial stance, and I definitely want to be clear that a one-shot headshot potential should not be touched on this. However, I do think there are some other areas that could and perhaps should be adjusted with the HDR just to bring some better balance to its raw power.
He's going to compare the old HDR in this
the other sniper rifles in the game. So let's talk about these areas where I think there could be some room for improvement. And the first area that popped into my head is aim down sight speed. This one seems like one of the more obvious ones because when you think about the HDR back in the original Warzone, I remember it being very slow in the handling department. It took quite a long time to aim down sight relative to the other sniper rifles in the game. And I actually went back and tested this with the OG Warzone build for the HDR. This is the build that you would tend to see used. Although that FMJ attachment, that was one floater attachment that could go anywhere basically. But with this particular build, which gave you the fastest possible velocity, which is the key with a one-shot sniper rifle, our aim down sight time on this was 580 milliseconds. Contrast that with my current HDR build in the current version of Warzone, and I've got all of those same velocity upsides with a 495 millisecond aim down sight time. So
that's a big difference, huh?
So that's a pause. That's a huge pause at 247.
Oh, wow.
So the current HDR, yes, like you just said, still with max bullet velocity, because you don't really give a shit about damage range if you are trying to one-shot people's heads. You just want to make the one-shot as consistent and as easy as possible, so you forego damage range entirely and just put on all of the velocity attachments, because you're one-shotting no matter what. And when you do that and you still build for ADS time, so Ace's build here is using monolithic suppressor for the new HDR, which is correct, gain twist barrel, which is also correct, overpressured fire mod, which is also correct. Those are your velocity attachments. Quick draw grip for max ADS time, yes. And then the heavy stock, and I don't know what that does. It might even hurt your ADS time, though I don't think it does. Actually,
yeah.
It almost certainly doesn't hurt your ADS time. Normally what people use, by the way, is not a stock at all. You use the one of the bipods. Yeah. Handguard,
aim stabilities.
Bipad or whatever, yes. For like very little idle sway. So do not use this build. I don't even know what heavy stock does because you want to be using that
minus
bipod.
60% flinch according to true game data and nothing else. Yeah, that's not necessary. That's a big terrible build. Yeah.
Yes.
We need that better aim stability. So definitely use the bipod.
Yeah, whatever it is. It's an underbarrel that helps with aim idle sway. That's what you want to be
Looks like
using.
it's the lightweight bipod, minus 45% idle sway. Very important. Definitely use that.
Yes. Yeah. So first of all, keep that in mind. However, despite that, as far as ADS time is concerned, this is a correct build. So the ADS comparison makes sense. And this ADS is 85 milliseconds faster. That is notable, but it's actually not that much faster. Honestly. When you're going from, what is it, 75 or 70, whatever, math, to 495. That in and of itself is not a huge difference. And I'm kind of surprised by that. I figured this was going to be ADSing at least 120 milliseconds faster than the original HDR.
Yeah, it's about 85. Yep.
So that's kind of weird. But also keep in mind, it doesn't matter what the old HDR was at the end of the day. It's either overpowered right now in the current environment or it's not. So if it's exactly the same as the old HDR, or it's worse than the old HDR, or it's better than the old HDR, if it's overpowered right now, then it's overpowered right now. And that's it. So it doesn't really matter what the old HDR was like, but it is an interesting point of comparison. And on the ADS front, yeah, the current one ADSs more quickly, which is obviously better than the old HDR anyway. Not that that matters, but if it does to you, this one is still better than the old one. So
yeah,
keep that in mind. So anyway, I'm going to press play.
That's
5 milliseconds faster. And in terms of aim down sight time, an 85 millisecond difference is quite a big deal. And so that's one area where I wouldn't be opposed to them dialing that back a little bit, making it a bit slower to get aim down sight and on target. So there'd be at least a bit more counterplay to a really good HDR user. There'd be more time to evade or more time to just land a couple extra shots before he can get his shot off on you. Now, additionally, another...
I paused it again at 311. This doesn't matter. Like, yeah, you can nerf the ADS time. That barely matters, though. Because I'm going to ADS, and then once I'm in, I'm going to continue shooting until you are dead. It's usually one bullet. So, like, 85 milliseconds, that's not very long. And that is very rarely going to make the difference. You need more than that, a lot more than that. But yeah, is it a good start? Yes, I'll take it. Nerf everything about it. So if this is what we're starting with, then I agree. But if this is like one of two changes, I probably don't. So anyway.
Area they could target either on top of an aim down sight adjustment or independently. Maybe keep your handling stats the same, but adjust this area instead. This is our body damage, especially when we're talking about longer ranges. As it is right now with the HDR in Warzone, it is currently a 2-shot kill anywhere in the body at any range when the enemy has full health and full plates. So that means I can shoot somebody in the toe twice at 200 meters, and that will down that player even though they had full plates
Which
on.
is a huge problem when you're getting team shot by shooters,
it's a little
especially.
too rewarding in my eyes. And also on the receiving end of that, it can be very frustrating to try to counter somebody that has to just land 2 body shots on you, because landing a body shot compared to a headshot is quite easy. So evading somebody that has clipped you with an HDR can be really frustrating. So the suggestion I've got here is either make it so you can only get that 2-shot kill against a fully plated enemy to like the upper torso and arms, Or maybe just make it so you can't get a 2-shot kill to the body beyond a certain range. Maybe add a range drop-off, which the HDR doesn't currently have. And with that, still maintain a 1-shot headshot potential at any range. But just make it so it's less effective with body shots. And this is another area where I look back at the OG Warzone, and I know overall weapon balancing was different, so it's not like an apples-to-apples comparison. But still, just out of curiosity, I look back, and in the original Warzone, the HDR was never a 2-shot kill to the body at all, even at point-blank range. If you were just getting body shots against a fully plated enemy, it was going to take you 3 shots, even to the upper torso. And I think that was a nice balance as well. You were very, very heavily rewarded for that perfectly placed headshot, whereas with body shots, there was a good chance the enemy that you shot would have the ability to get to cover and evade, and then have the ability to fight back against you after regaining and getting some plates on. And I think that's totally fair if they choke their headshot. As it is right now, if you get clipped by that first shot to the body, obviously it depends on the situations, but oftentimes there's just nothing you can do. You can't get to cover by the time they land that easy second shot to your body. So this is another area where I wouldn't be opposed to seeing an adjustment to the HDR. Keep its high reward potential with those headshots, but make it a little more difficult to kill if you're not hitting headshots. Now,
Obviously, this would be a very substantive change, and this is one of the huge problems with it. Is it's so easy to just hit you somewhere, and then all that needs to happen is anyone else, including that guy, needs to touch you anywhere with another HDR shot and you're dead. So if there are 3 people on a roof sniping you with an HDR, if 2 of them touch you anywhere, you instantly explode. And if one of them headshots you, you die. And there are 3 of them. So, like, this is way, way too strong. And so many times I have died to body shots with the HDR. Because also, like, if someone else, maybe their teammate, maybe not, is shooting me with a kilo, and they hit me once, then, like, okay, well, my plates are gone. All right, well, now I'm 1 shot to an HDR anywhere. Because the least amount of damage an HDR can do is to the leg. And it does, I believe it's 160 or 180?
I thought it was 180. I think it's 180. It's 180.
Okay. So if I
shoot somebody in the toe and do 180 damage.
Yep. So if I have no plates, I'm dead no matter where you shoot me with an HDR. That's happened a lot too. This is a great start also. Is like, hey, you can still 1-shot headshot me, but if you're not hitting headshots, it takes you 3. That's a good, really good start. So this and the ADS change would be good. Let's see what else he has to say. I've pressed play.
Another area that initially I was thinking could be targeted with the HDR. Again, I'm not saying necessarily in addition to the things I'm talking about, but just something that could be targeted independently is the bullet velocity, because that's one of the things I noticed with the HDR in the current state is you really don't have to lead moving targets all that much. You don't have to account for bullet drop all that much as well, because your velocity is just so fast. But once again, I look back to the original Warzone, and that's how it was back in the day as well. That was one of the big upsides to using the HDR over like an AX50, for instance. And as a result, I'm no longer in favor of the idea of adjusting the bullet velocity on this. I think that should stay as it is right now. However, I think what I would really prefer is bringing back that dynamic of having really solid, viable options with different behaviors in the sniper rifle category, like we had with the AX50 back in the day. So instead of nerfing velocity on the HDR, what I'd love to see is another bolt-action sniper rifle that also has an infinite 1-shot headshot potential, but it has faster handling stats in the HDR, and again, that could go alongside a slight nerf to the handling on the HDR. Maybe a slightly faster fire rate, although it should still be fairly slow, and a bolt-action sniper. I don't think we should be seeing semi-auto 1-shot headshot potentials out to an infinite range. But then the kicker with this is give it a slower bullet velocity potential, even with attachments, compared to the HDR. This would create that excellent dynamic that we used to have in the original Warzone with the AX50 versus the HDR, where if you want, you could go with the slower, clunkier sniper rifle that makes it a lot easier to hit headshots at really long ranges against moving targets, where you don't really have to account for leading or bullet drop all that much. Or you could go for the other option that has better handling and a slightly better fire rate, so quicker follow-up shots. But with that one, you do have to account for leading your targets and accounting for bullet drop a lot more than with the HDR. So if you're really confident in those areas and you master those areas, then you get the upsides of the faster handling and fire rates. Whereas if you're not, that's okay. You can choose the HDR and go with the slower, clunkier version where it's easier to hit your shots. I absolutely love that dynamic back in the day, and I'd love to see something like that return. And I think something like the LR762, for instance, would be a great candidate for this. I think that's...
Yeah, okay. This, I think I also agree with. Its bullet velocity is high, but like, that's only a problem for two reasons. One, because everything else about this gun is overpowered. And two, the servers suck a lot. So like that nutty bullet velocity, you can just miss me and it's still going to register as a hit. That's like a big problem. But how do you change that? Like, I don't think you do need to lower the velocity on it. I think you need to fix the servers. That's never going to happen. But that would be the real change. Because I think the velocity is not the issue with this. So like, I think I'd be okay with this.
I think it could take a velocity hit. Not a ton, but even like with the best build, 75 meters per second less, something like that. A decent nerf. I don't know. I think it needs that too. Because that's one big thing that will make it actually harder to hit shots, harder to hit moving targets. So I think that needs to happen personally.
Yeah, it would.
But if they go overboard, then it would make the gun unfun to use, which I get, and then a lot of people would be pissed about that. So
yeah. So, well, I'm going to press play again.
The real issue, as of right now in Warzone, there's really one solid option for sniping, and that is the HDR. You could argue the Kar 98 is still reasonable as long as you're not stretching your ranges out too far, since it does have a one-shot headshot potential, but just not to an infinite range. So I think that's really what I'm looking for here. Rather than a big nerf to the HDR, I'd rather see maybe some slight adjustments here or there, a little bit of tuning to handling, while bringing up some of the others. I'm not going to complain about it. Potential in ranked play. This is where the game is meant to be far more competitively balanced and more skill-based, and as a result, I wouldn't be opposed to them adding some base health, for instance, in ranked play when it ends up coming back, so that there's no longer
this is just stupid. So, okay, that's pretty much it. He talks about what he would want to do in ranked play. I don't care.
We get ranked play soon, man.
Yeah, we do, supposedly. For reference, Ace like hates Warzone, very rarely plays it, doesn't cover it all that much, but he's loving the HDR and he wouldn't be mad if they nerfed it. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, would this be, so what he advocated for, and also it doesn't really matter what Ace wants either. That like there are good nerfs and not good nerfs, and whether they align with how the HDR used to be back in the day doesn't matter. Whether it's what Ace suggested or not also doesn't matter. With that said, we'll use this as a jumping off point. Would this be enough? No, it wouldn't. If all we did was lower the aim down sight speed, unless you tank the ADS speed. If you made it 700 milliseconds, okay, sure. That wouldn't be a good nerf. That would be, I think, too much, probably. But like lowering it a touch, call it 100 milliseconds even. So it's even slower than the original one. And then also lowering the body damage, it just wouldn't be enough. Because head hitboxes are extremely generous. And when you do have as much bullet velocity as you have on this gun with these servers, it's so easy to hit headshots. And you have a really high fire rate. And you have very little idle sway. So that's what I would do. Is like, I do like the idea of less body damage. I would do that. Bullet velocity, I think, is fine, given the other changes I'll recommend. Aim down sight speed could be slower, but I think what would be the most impactful and helpful, aim down sight speed should be slower actually, but the biggest ones for me are lower body damage for sure, and lower fire rate. I wish he had compared the fire rate of the original and this one, because it feels like I can shoot pretty quickly, and either more idle sway or more recoil. Because another thing too, without running any recoil attachments, by the time I can fire again, my gun is recentered for me, like automatically. So I'm basically allowed to shoot at my fire rate. Whereas, like, think of the Signal is a good example. The semi-auto sniper. How did they balance that? It had a fuck ton of recoil.
It was annoying to use. That's why I hated it, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, theoretically, you could shoot at whatever its fire rate was, 30 rounds per minute. But practically speaking, you couldn't, because you would not be recentered before the gun lets you fire it again. With this gun, that is not true. You fire, and by the time you're done rechambering, you've been back on target for minutes. And this is with literally 0 recoil attachments at all. So, like, that could be another thing too. If this is some 50 cal that's shooting, 3,000 meters per second fucking rounds, give it some kick. So that once I shoot, like, I'm done rechambering before I've, like, recentered. But these both mean the same thing. Lower practical fire rate. So you can do that by literally just capping the fire rate, or by giving it a lot more kick so that you can technically fire again, but you won't be recentered by then. I think that is the biggest problem with it, is, like, again, the body damage and the fire rate are just so good. You could also do that with idle sway, but, like, the more I think about it, don't think that matters too much, because you can just hold your breath and then you can just re-ADS and you get that, like, grace period or whatever where you don't have idle sway for the first whatever when you ADS. So I think it needs something like that. The main thing I think is you shouldn't be able to fire it accurately as quickly as you can.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when we were playing the other day. I was, like, in the firing range shooting it a little bit as we were waiting. And I had thought the same thing. I'm like, dude, this gun does not have recoil. For a heavy sniper, it's very easy to get back on target. And that, I haven't used the cat in months and months and months. But from what I remember, when you shot the cat, it felt like it had a ton of recoil, right?
Yeah.
This does not feel that way. You shoot and then you're just right back on target. So that would be a really good way to nerf it, I think, that not many people are talking about, because you don't really think a whole lot about recoil when it comes to sniper. But you could even just add recoil to it and not even adjust the fire rate at all. And then that kind of fixes the issue without changing the fire rate at all, I think.
I agree, yeah.
So it's hard to hit those follow-up shots. But
yeah. And another thing that would be
the only thing I'd be worried about with all of these changes, though, if they nerfed all these and made it slower, is people already play a lot slower and rattier right now in Verdansk than we've been used to for the last year and a half. I almost wonder if they make it slower, if just as many people still use it, because it's still a one-shot headshot with high velocity. But now everybody plays even fucking rattier. They just don't leave rooftops. They're just always hard scope looking. That could kind of be the downside if they don't change anything else, which that's why I think they do need to nerf something like the velocity, because then it hurts those people as well. And it keeps them from just sitting on a roof playing slower than ever, because they nerfed the gun, but for the way they're going to play, it didn't really do much to them. Yeah. So I think you have to nerf the velocity. Nerf the velocity, nerf the body damage, add recoil would be a good one. I mean, honestly, nerf a little bit of everything except for the one-shot headshot potential.
Yeah.
Nerf the fire rate by a little bit, sure. I mean, I'm talking like 5% some of these things, like not much at all. But the velocity, I think, should get hit by 75, 100, something like that.
Yeah, milliseconds, yeah. Or meters per second, rather, not percent. Obviously. So, yeah. I think overall I do agree. My thing would be, you can start with just like 2 of our suggestions and then reassess. So like, I think you're right, in the long run, you would also need to nerf other things. But my thinking is like, okay, let's nerf the body damage. Let's give it a fuck ton more recoil. And that's it for patch 1. And then if it's still really easy to use, really good, and everyone's still using it, and really oppressive, then it's like, okay, now let's nerf the velocity, or let's nerf the aim down sight time, or let's nerf the idle sway. Do like one of those, and then give it another couple days and reassess. This is how they used to do weapon balance, by the way, back in Caldera, when we got a fuck ton of weapon balance changes all the time. And that was a great system, because it's like you either do pass one of the nerf. If it's good enough, you're done. If it's too much, you can add back some of the nerf you took. And if it's not enough, then you just do a little bit more until you get it in the right spot. So I think those are what I've mentioned are like the two biggest things that that I think they should start with and then go from there. I'm not saying definitively that would be perfect and it would be fine. I'm just saying that's where I would want them to start. Another thing too, though, with the recoil, that would be giving it a ton of recoil would actually be better than nerfing the fire rate, is because that another thing is like, let's say you're running through a tree line and I'm sniping you with an HDR and you're running like perpendicular to me through tree line. So like left to right. I shoot you once, I hit you or I miss you, whatever. But I see you that entire time. So while I'm rechambering, I'm still looking at you. I'm still tracking exactly where you're going. So I know exactly where I need to recenter. So if you nerf the fire rate, it would take me longer to shoot you again, but I would have been tracking you and seeing you on my screen this whole time. But if you nerf the recoil without nerfing the fire rate, well, I take the first shot, I hit you or I don't, but now my gun has so much recoil, you're not on my screen anymore. So I have to recenter, but I also have to find you again.
Yeah.
That would also be a really effective nerf. Because then, if I land the headshot, I don't care about how much recoil it has. You're down. So, like, it doesn't matter. So, in other words, you aren't punished for the high skill play if there's more recoil. Virtually at all. Unless you lose them and you can't get the thirst, but that's fine. But if I miss you, or I don't hit the headshot, well, then I am punished. So it's still just as effective with good plays, but it's not as easy to use and effective for bad or suboptimal plays. Because I'm going to lose sight of you when you're running away. So I actually do, now that I've thought about it and started talking about it, I think instead of a fire rate change at all, it should just be, a ton more recoil so that whoever you shot at is off of your screen. So you have to re-find them. That would be very, very good. And it would still take you more time to recenter, so it would effectively lower your practical fire rate. That's what I would say.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. Will they nerf the HDR, though? I don't know. Again, we've kind of talked this to death, but I mean, streamers are saying it needs a nerf. But the general player base does not want it touched. They're very afraid of that. And what should they do? If they nerf the HDR, will they lose players? Because I don't know what I'd rather have. Demon lobbies only, like we did late season 2, or mixed lobbies of varying skill players, but everyone's using a current version HDR. I actually don't know what's better.
The second one, easily, I think.
But it's probably the second one.
Still, yeah.
So maybe don't nerf it. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, if it pushes away bad players, then just, hey, buff it. Yeah, because that's still better than playing against super sweats every single game. That's been so surprising during Verdansk. The lobbies have not been close to as sweaty as I thought they would be.
Yeah.
They feel nice most of the time. You get some of those sweaty ones, like the last morning we played. Those were the sweatiest ones I'd played personally, but you get some really good teams and then you get some teams that are just average, and it's interesting. Whereas, I mean, season 2, season 1 of BO6 Warzone, it did not feel like that at all. everybody was insane constantly. But I think that's also just because they nerfed good players by removing a lot of things that were in the game previously, like the balloons, zips, a lot of stuff like that too. So
yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think they will nerf it. It's just going to be a question of what they do and how much. Honestly, what I think they'll do, based on how they nerfed the XM4, is they're going to nerf like everything a little bit, like Tanner suggested. So it's probably going to ADS a little slower. It's going to have a little less velocity. It's probably, maybe it'll have like a little more flinch, a little slower fire rate. Like, I think they're going to do that, is like nerf it a little bit everywhere. And that might be enough also. I mean, it would be a lot worse if they nerfed everything by 5%, honestly. That would make it like harder to use. So
yeah,
that would be my guess.
Just don't nerf the one-shot potential, and they're certainly not doing that, obviously.
And they won't. So, yeah, but that's another thing worth mentioning. If you're worried they're going to take away his one-shot at any range ability, they will not.
Never.
That is something no one wants, and they know that, and they're definitely not going to change that part of it. I don't want it either. So yeah. Anyway, moving on from that, we have another video. This one I have not pre-watched. It's from JGOD.
The topic today is,
and it is titled Warzone streamers are sabotaging the game again. Wow. Now, he put this in quotation marks because I guess this is what's floating around on Twitter. Why is this floating around on Twitter? I suspect it's because a lot of good players are begging for the HDR to be nerfed, but I don't know. I don't know what is going on with that. So let's find out. 3, 2, 1, play.
The topic today is streamers are trying to ruin the game already. This is kind of a common theme I've already seen online from a lot of people in my comment sections.
Please shove it down my throat.
I've seen it in chat, on streams. I've seen it basically anywhere. And we got some spectating randoms in the background. This is a topic I kind of wanted to talk about because I think a lot of people have misconceptions about it because it's basically false, right? And we'll go ahead and go through it. I'm sure plenty of you guys believe it's true. But I promise you, it's not even remotely true for multiple different reasons that we'll get into. So I find it a little bit more comical,
it's not true.
A little bit like kind of hilarious because it's been proven that it's not true. Basically for the past 5 years that we've had a Warzone, and even prior to that with multiplayer, if you were a multiplayer player in zombies, same thing. Basically the things that creators ask for just never ends up in the game. It's just not how it works. One thing that does tend to happen though is when we do get new games like we've had with the integrations, when we've had early access to content, we give feedback and stuff like that, and some people will be a little bit more salacious so that it gets more clicks, because the more impressions you get, generally you're going to make more money as a content creator. So people like maybe even rage baiting certain topics. So one common example that we've seen recently is there are creators that don't have a problem with one-shot sniping. Yes, it's annoying to die by one-shot sniper on occasion. So maybe they'll make a claim like...
Pause. Don't say on occasion. If by on occasion you mean every time I die, that is occasional. It's every occasion, but okay. But don't say on occasion. And for context, by the way, JGOD also just does not play Warzone either anymore. So...
he's a zombie main.
Yeah, like, so just keep that in mind. All right, I'm playing it.
The HDR, but they don't actually care about nerfing the HDR. It just is what it is. It's just because they know that they can bait that engagement and go, no, don't nerf my HDR. So I you know, that's part of it. Realistically, if you guys have been following me for a while, so obviously some of you guys are probably new, but the people that have been following me for a while, you know that when it comes to the meta, I recommend and I advocate for metas that where we should have around 15 to 20 different guns in the meta. How many times has that happened in the past 5 years?
Never.
0?
Yeah.
So they ain't listening to me. So the reality is the creators are going to play this game regardless if it's good, bad, indifferent.
True.
So they don't actually factor in
Yeah, that's true.
the consideration of what we think,
Very
because
true.
reality is most people that make content on the game are going to continue playing the game. So our people are like, it sucks every day. Damn, dude got run over. Vehicle warfare.
Warzone.
Spectating randoms, by the way.
One. It was kind of
And the
cool,
guy got
actually.
run over.
I ended up getting tweeted about that one because we ended up spectating somebody who follows the channel. Their son ended up being the one who won that match in the Vehicle Royale video we did a few days ago on the spectating randoms. He's like, hey, my son hit me up. He said I got to win, finally. Sent him a screenshot. And then, coincidentally, the guy happened to follow the channel. So he saw the video and he's like, oh, it was my son. Hey, what a coincidence. So that was kind of a just cool thing. Interact with, you know, the community is always the W. Like, there's a lot of those creators that will go out of their way to basically make negative content, but every day they're shilling the store. Like, ooh, new bundle. Oh my God, new bundle. This gun's meta when it's absolutely not meta. This gun's a 2-shot kill when it's absolutely not a 2-shot kill. Just clickbaiting for views and engagement, and they're playing the game every day. So when it comes to the devs, they give 0 Fs about what creators thinks of the game. That's not how it generally works. Pretty weird loadout here. What the hell? Yeah. John McClane as a Ninja
insane,
Turtle.
By the way. That's the meta.
C9.
The AG1, I've died to my fair share.
The reality is that
every time I fired a rocket, I've got it down with it. I'm
significant
not
changes
like we
saw in the past. I think the devs thought they got really creative with Warzone 2, try to reinvent the wheel. Casuals didn't ask for that. Sweats or pros didn't ask for that. And it just made the game unfun. And they basically gave us a new game.
The casuals claimed to have liked Warzone 2, though.
It wasn't the Call of Duty Battle Royale Warzone that most people fell in love with. Even though there was a little bit of staleness towards the end of Verdansk the first time around, there was a lot of staleness because there was lack of content, lack of map changes, lack of a lot of other things.
Like what still happens.
That weren't necessarily the base foundation of the game, and they tried to do a 180 and reinvent the wheel, hoping they'd strike lightning would strike twice, and that didn't happen. So I think all they need to continue to do, and I think most people generally agree with this, is just continue to make the game fun without drastically changing anything. Utilize LTMs for fun, unique game modes if they want to do.
All right, pause. I'm at 456. Today's podcast is brought to you by us and our Patreon, which is running free trials right now, but not for long, just for the month of April. You get ad-free episodes, so you don't hear ads like this, on all the public episodes and on all the bonus episodes, which we do 3 of every month related to Call of Duty. $5 a month, you get all that. You get a Discord role. And the bonus episodes can be quite helpful. We go into a lot more detail on stuff that we don't really have the time to do in the public episodes most of the time. We did the All About Warzone episode recently for a Saturday, which obviously was super detailed and involved, but usually that type of episode is kind of like a bonus episode. So if you wanted more nitty-gritty stuff, Patreon's where you want to go. If you wanted more than 3 bonus eps a month, we do more for Platinum and Damascus patrons, a Q&A and a behind the scenes, respectively. But if you're just here for the COD stuff, become a gold patron. It's like an extra 4 hours of content a month, and then again, you don't have to listen to ads like this one or any ads at all, and you get all the episodes early. Also, when we split some of our longer public episodes into 2 parts, if you're a patron, you get the whole thing early, all at once, right away, both parts. And of course, it's the best way to support the show. We make the vast majority of our money through Patreon, through our patrons. So if you like the content, if you've been fucking freeloading for a while, consider joining or join the free trial. See if it's worth it to you. See if you care enough about the early access and the ad-free. And if you like the bonus episodes enough. We've done 1 so far this month. It was kind of a further review with some tips about Warzone right now. And then later on this month, as we close out, we got 2 more coming, one of which is almost certainly going to be a little brainstorm. And hopefully we can do one after Season 3 Reloaded, once we get a huge meta change. And then we can give you some tips, details, strats, whatever, on all of those changes. Maybe even talk about ranked Warzone. That stuff is definitely going to be talked about next month on Patreon as well, but hopefully we can maybe even get into some of it this month for our remaining 2 bonus episodes. Anyway, patreon.com/thedropshot, by far the best way to support the show. We need more patrons, so think about it. And also sign up, or at least join the free trial to think about it and see if you like it. And so you don't hear ads like this one that I've made extra long unnecessarily just to piss you off and incentivize you more, which I will continue doing, by the way. Let's get back to the show. Wait. Okay, now let's get back to the show. You're so mad. So his first point was like, everything content creators ask for, we don't get. So how could we be ruining Warzone when they don't listen to us? That's true. Yeah. That seems to be extremely true. Because yeah, I mean, his example was like, I've advocated for metas where like 15 guns are usable. How many times has that ever happened? None. I think that's kind of a bad example because they probably would if they could, but how do you do that? Like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't make 15 different guns viable or meta in Warzone. I don't think that's possible. I think you can make like 8, maybe like 10. So like 2 snipers, 2 ARs, and then like not even 10, like 4 SMGs that all do like slightly different things. Probably do that. How the fuck are you going to do 15 though? The only way you're doing that is if guns are so similar that it's just like, they might as well be the same gun. So that's like kind of a bad example. But like, yeah, a lot of things streamers have asked for just don't come to the game at all. Here's a good example. Get rid of SBMM. Every content creator and streamer they kind of stopped saying it because it's a losing battle, but back in the day, they used to say this all the time. We were one of them. Not that we're big fucking streamers or whatever, but streamers also would be like, this SBMM shit fucking sucks. Get rid of it. They didn't even come close to listening. They've cranked it up since then. So like that is a good example. That's a great example where it's like, dude, trust me, they are not listening to streamers. What's another thing? They lowered the time to kill explicitly, as they said in the IGN interview, to lower the skill gap and give people who don't shoot straight a chance.
Yeah.
What content creator was asking for that? None of them. Because content creators do shoot straight. They want a big skill gap. They want jetpacks in COD, which many have advocated for also, or in Warzone. When's the last time we got that? Never. When will we get that? Also never. Because it's too big of a skill gap to be able to jetpack. So that's the main point, and that's like kind of it, is streamers can't be sabotaging the game or ruining the game if the devs, the decision makers, do not listen to them. Which they don't,
I mean, certainly
obviously.
For this update, they didn't listen to them, but honestly, I kind of agree with Base Ramin in chat. He said the last version of Urzikstan is a byproduct of streamers, which is a horrific experience for 90% of people. Because like he said, streamers kept constantly asking for balloons, faster movement, more money. That is actually true. That was a thing I was against a long time ago when BR started feeling like Resurgence. And he's actually right. That was a thing all the streamers wanted, was something faster paced. And then we got that, and then it got to the point of Urzikstan BO6, and then finally people were like, oh dude, this is just Resurgence on big map now. It's like, I've been fucking saying that for a year and a half. No shit. We've been going down this path. How are you guys just now realizing this? It's felt that way for a long time. So I think he's actually right in that aspect, that BR getting away from that feeling and turning into big map Resurgence was a lot of streamers doing, I think, honestly. They liked that shit for a while.
Sort
and then,
of.
like everything else, they got over it, most of them.
Well, I think sort of. So last season, Urzikstan, balloons are a consequence of the shitty map Caldera, and then they just stayed in because streamers like them because you can move around really quickly.
Yeah.
So kind of streamers, but I'll give you that one. The faster movement and shit, probably also like streamers like that. Because the faster the movement, the more of a skill gap there is. So I'll give you that also. But like big map resurgence and that being a big part of the reason why Urzikstan, I mean, that was part of the reason Urzikstan felt ass. The main reason is because I couldn't see, hear people. I died to cheaters all the time. And that was kind of it. So like, I don't know. But like the fact that it's like big map resurgence, that was from Caldera, and Ted Timmons did that for casuals. I don't think any content creators during Caldera were like, damn man, I don't think Repulse was ever saying, fuck dude, I hate when I'm playing with Biffle and I die in a pub's lobby and Biffle can't possibly get 4K to buy me back. I wish there was a redeploy pack and token and buybacks were cheaper so that I could come back and play again. That just isn't, that never happened.
See, I feel like a lot of them liked all that shit. I remember a lot of streamers liking all of that being added to the game back then. But maybe it was more like resurgent streamers liked it or something. I don't know. But I remember that being a thing because then I remember a bunch of them starting in like, yeah, we have all this like shit now. It's like, yeah, because you guys all fucking wanted this and liked it because you wanted it to be super fast paced so you can get 60 kills a match. Like that's what you wanted.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't remember. I don't know. But like what I recall about what the devs said, what Ted Timmons said about why they did that, it seemed to be that they were doing that for casual players who were dead a lot. Because like in one of the blog posts about redeploy packs or gulag tokens, when those were first added, they were like, they wrote one of their blurbs when they used to talk to us and update the game. And it said like, it's not fun not playing. So we want to make more uptime in a match where you're like playing the game. So we added these things. So like if streamers ended up liking it or benefited from it, which they definitely benefited from it, obviously. I don't know if they liked it necessarily. But maybe they did end up liking it. That wasn't the reason they did it. Or it didn't seem that way. It seems like the reason they did it was for the casuals. I don't think it like was for the streamers. Now, did that contribute to Urzikstan or like, you know, late stage BR? We'll say Urzikstan, shorthand. Being dog shit? For sure. Absolutely. Fucking absolutely. It was way too easy to regain. But I just don't think like streamers are the reason they did that. That's what it seems like to me. But like the movement in the balloons, I think you're right. Yeah, I think that was like really, really beneficial to good players, obviously. Because yeah, you just balloon to wherever the fuck you want to go. And then, yeah, boom. So, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. But anyway, let's keep watching. I'm at 456.
Yep.
And I pressed play.
Increased health and iron trials or titanium trials with the plate mechanics. Do it there. Buff more guns so we do get the 15 to 20 guns in the meta. Whereas right now we're closer to like 7-ish. Actually double that number, right? Get us up to 15, 16, a little bit more than double.
I would love that too, but that's
kind of generally how it works.
Done. I don't know how they do that.
I think when they did the Warzone 2, they kind of forgot what the game was and they just didn't make the game that we wanted to play. They tried to be a PUBG or whatever other knockoff battle royale that wasn't COD. It stopped feeling like COD. And Modern Warfare 2 did a lot of this too. And I think that was driven by IW. I don't know if it was just specific people in charge that made those
fucking
decisions
idiots
and they thought
at
they were
IW,
good
yes.
because they hit a home run the first time around. But obviously it didn't work. A lot of people dropped away from the game. They fell off. And I think they've already done a bunch of subtle changes that make this version of Verdansk better than the original in a lot of ways. Still worse in some ways, I think. I think there's a little bit. Still, the recoil's not where it needs to be. I think some of the bullet velocity's not where it needs to be. I think the movement's not quite as snappy as it could be. This is a loadout, dog. What are we watching here? Double launcher?
No way.
Oh, this guy's on demon
He's spectating randoms. This guy's using 2 HE1 launchers.
Holy. But
and Proxmine.
It's just kind of how it goes, right? I think what also happened for a while there is they always tried to like make changes for one group or another, right? And I think their main target is usually the casuals, which makes sense, right? That's the biggest money maker. There's more casuals than there are pros. And then pros are going to be there regardless of how the game is. So it's ideal.
Another good point, by the way, is
it would be ideal to just focus on
content creators that bitch and moan, they're going to play anyway, so why cater to them?
Basically, 99% of the changes they ever made for casuals ended up backfiring, and they ended up benefiting top players and pro players and sweats more because they were able to min-max.
Oh, he's probably going to talk about it right here.
So back in the day, vehicle.
Pause. This is a point Tanner and I have made a lot too over 5 years, is like, you can't cater to casuals too much because there's only so much you can do to cater to a casual player. And if you do, you're also giving those tools to good players. And if you're a good player, you're going to be better at literally whatever it is. So like the time to kill change, for example, that's probably to help some guy kill Biffle. Biffle still dropped 800 kills in his first game on season 3. So it didn't help the casuals that much. I think our original example was in BO4 multiplayer. There were the specialist abilities. So if you're playing as a Prophet, you can go 0-20, and then after a number of minutes, you would have your Tempest, your ultimate ability or whatever. You didn't even have to earn it. And it was just like some insanely overpowered ability, depending on the operator, where it was very easy to get kills with. Way easier than like using your gun. They definitely did that for casuals, so that Tommy can go 2-7 on battery, and then finally the timer ends and his ultimate's up, and he can pull out his grenade launcher, fire it in the air while jerking himself off, and get a couple kills. But guess what? Fucking Scump also gets batteries War Machine, and is going to get 8 quad feeds in a row with it. So, like, is that fun for casuals? Probably not. Getting shit pissed and farted on. So there's like only so much you can do. And yeah, that's like, we've made this point a lot over the years. It applies to almost anything, because you can't make a casual player better than a good player. It doesn't matter what tools you give them. It just doesn't, because unless you're only giving those tools to casual players, which is just impossible in Warzone. Well, some people believe that's what they do. Skill-based hit reg is a conspiracy theory where if you're a shit player, you get better hit registration, or like magnetism. That's like a theory. It's just, but that's almost certainly not real. It's been tested. And I mean, there would be riots if that was proven true. Like that, no one would play the game anymore, actually, if they ever got caught doing that. The risk wouldn't be worth it. But besides that, like anything you do to like cater to casuals, like the regain mechanics of Caldera, cool. Like someone in chat said, I was reading earlier, Sweats did end up liking it because yeah, lobbies never died out. So you could get a 90 kill solo quad game. Because like you can wipe a squad and they all come back and you can go kill them again later. Instead of like right now, if you wipe a squad,
4 times.
Yeah, exactly right. Right now, if you wipe them once, if some of them win their gulags, you might be able to kill them one more time, but that is it. So like, yeah, Sweats did end up liking that for some reason. So it's like, cool cater to casuals. Now I get to die to Biffle 100 times instead of just twice. Okay, I guess. Like, I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, I played it.
Were the meta, like just like they are kind of now. They're not quite as good as they were back in the day because we had the Bertha, even in solos before they removed it. Then they limited the spawn. They did a bunch of different stuff. Then they nerfed launchers. They nerfed C4. And all the goal was because good players were utilizing these mechanics too effectively and killing players too frequently.
This is
too
crazy
often, and they were
gameplay,
just
man.
getting abused.
Yeah, this guy
because all you need to do
bothers
is
me.
drive by as
the
someone
average
unloads their
solo
magazine
player, I
on
think.
you.
These are the lobbies that
Then
JGOD
when
finds
you
himself
jump
in
out
also,
and start
by the way.
firing at them, they're caught reloading. Easy kill.
No, he has an alt account
Generally,
he does for
better
this.
players abuse
Oh.
these mechanics.
I said that.
And they
With
did
like a
everything they
negative
did
KD.
to nerf this into the ground. An unintended side effect of that, or consequence, was now average and below average players were struggling to rotate in the zone. They had less utility. The vehicles just were not as good. So people were dying at a higher pace to the gas, getting held out by players. Less opportunity to actually move around the map. So they went ahead and they introduced zips, balloons. We had balloons.
They
and
added
drones,
balloons 'cause
and those
Caldera
were
required
another
them.
utility
I don't
to
think
be able
they
to get
did it
around
for
the
this
map more
reason.
effectively. And of course, that did help. But here come the good players. They learn how to utilize those mechanics to get around the map much faster and wipe the lobby that much more effectively.
Yeah.
And now casuals are dying too frequently because although SBMM does kick in and give you sweatier lobbies, like you're not going to get 150 sweats in a lobby. That's just not how matchmaking works. There's not enough people in the world. Even at the
Yep.
game's peak, it just doesn't work that way.
True.
You'd still be waiting a pretty long queue.
This guy hasn't reloaded the AMX.
Just like ranked play should have, like 5-10 minute
yeah.
queues.
Crazy.
For that level of competitiveness in the lobby. So they do that, and then now they notice that casuals aren't even making it past the mid game. So what do? They go, you know what? Let's give them some token. Oh, this is gonna be sick. Oh, you missed
Did
the
he
dude.
miss?
He's right below you. You might get
Bro,
this one.
how do
No.
you miss that?
This is fire playstyle, bro. We haven't seen a play. Oh, he's missing.
Add aim assist to launchers. That's what I've been trying
Yeah.
to say.
This is cancerous.
This guy needs it.
But at least this dude is having fun, bro.
Is he having fun?
So what they do, they add the tokens. Well, now
Yeah,
the
ADS
right back in
sweats,
his
if they
hidey
get
hole.
killed by someone that's ratting in a corner, hiding out, catches someone off guard, they come back and they're more likely to abuse those mechanics because they're better players. So it's always been this domino effect where initially it sounds like a good idea on paper that this should be good for casuals, but it doesn't end up working that way. So the reality is they just need to keep it super simple and really keep the competitive stuff in the competitive area, which is perfectly fine. I think that they probably should listen to content creators or really sweaty players that are going to be playing ranked because casuals aren't really leaning towards the ranked side of it. So that maybe you should work on that. Maybe no one-shot sniping in there. Maybe like they've already mentioned.
Yeah.
They're already
Also
going to
true.
add plates in the gulag for ranked. That's already coming. They'll have the zips. They'll have a few other things that are specifically for ranked that they already know and have already planned out. The zone placement will probably be a little bit better for ranked. And that's fine for competitive. But the reality is you just need to keep it simple, keep it fun. And that's the key ingredient, right? Is this change going to be fun? Not necessarily is it targeted to specifically casuals or if it's specifically targeting sweats. Because I think the reality is if you focus just on making the game fun, it's going to be good for everybody on paper, right? But like we saw with the other example, it could easily get out of hand. This guy does not play the game, right? He just, this is how he plays, right? Building rooftop. This is somebody he's
hasn't
going to be
reloaded
hiding
the
out.
AMAX,
Level
by the way,
55,
yeah.
maxed out.
His
only
launcher
25
isn't
round mag
rechambered
on his
either.
AMAX.
Oh,
I guess
good.
he did rechambered. Okay.
Oh.
This launcher's kind of, oh, here it
You
is.
have to hit this shot.
Oh,
He's
he
terrible.
missed. You got to get
He's
better with
awful,
this,
yeah.
dog.
Oh, he's about to get sniped. Still
Okay,
shoot
this
at the
guy's
car,
got a
though.
sniper, which we
Is he
know
gonna
is the
peek
meta
without
right now.
plating?
I think he
No,
might.
he's gonna go into
Oh,
cover.
he's not going to peek at all, actually.
He's going
5
full
minutes
on
on
into
Gulag,
cover.
gets his chance to reload, still needs to plate. Crosshair placement a little low.
Like how-
And I
He
think
hasn't
that's the other
played it
part
still.
too is
Yeah.
they got in the habit of
Oh, yeah, of
trying
course
to
not.
just overbalance the game.
I hate
And
Warzone,
obviously
by the way.
there's instances where things need to be fixed or
There we
like if
go.
there's a bug or if there's something like this
played it.
legitimately broken that will ruin the gameplay loop. Sure, bring some awareness, patch that so the game works as intended. but I think sometimes they go out of their way
are
to
we
like
about done with this video?
nerf too many things.
I mean, yeah, that's that's kind of the thing with JGOD
it.
videos is they're unedited, so it's just a lot of yapping.
Imagine making videos like that.
Yeah, it's just start a podcast, JGOD. I mean,
yeah, that's pretty. I mean,
yeah, I don't care anymore. I don't
either, and I don't even know what else he's gonna say because again, like he made the point. Like Warzone streamers can't be sabotaging or ruining the game if the devs don't listen to them. It's not possible.
Yeah.
So what else is there to say? That's kind of it. I am curious what people mean when they say that. So like anyone in chat, for example, do any of you think streamers are ruining the game? And if so, can I get an example, please? I would love to know. Because on the one hand, there can't be anyone that thinks this. On the other hand, there obviously are, and I've learned, again, I'm very wrong all the time about what the average player thinks. So I need input on this. I require it.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's like if they're not listening to sweaty players, then they can't be ruining the game. If they got everything they wanted, would they be ruining the game? Maybe. Depends on what streamers you're talking about, I guess. But like, what would really sweaty players want right now? A gutting of the HDR, faster movement again. Probably they'd want jetpacks. They might want balloons again. They might not. Would any of that ruin the game? Hard to say. I'm sure there are other things sweats want. Oh, slower time to kill. That would be another thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the sweats are going to keep playing it. Yeah, that's the thing is the casuals, and there's one little thing they don't like anymore. If they nerf the HDR a little too much, a bunch of casuals will just stop playing, and they'll be like, streamers ruin the game from complaining. But that streamer played through everything. That sweaty player played through everything when the game was at its lowest lows.
Yep.
Warzone 2, Season 1 and 2 of BO6 Warzone. I mean, yeah, they play it no matter what, so...
That's another
I think
thing.
At some point you should be listening to those people more, really.
It depends, yeah. Like, I get that the devs have... It is kind of an awkward position. Because another thing, too, that I think a lot of people don't give streamers credit for is streamers are aware, at least most of them. I'm sure there are some really stupid... I know that there are some really stupid streamers that don't know shit and are just dumb. But, like... all of the very popular streamers that I've seen request changes to be made to the game, they do keep the casual player in mind. We do as well when we advocate for anything. In fact, that's usually the point of view we come at anything from. It's like, we should change this because, you know, casual players wouldn't want it or whatever. Not always, but usually that's what we do. But like even really good players, like, I don't know, Swag, Biffle, whoever, name your favorite guy. They usually don't say things like, remove the HDR entirely because I personally don't like sniping and it's too easy to use. Because they understand if the game isn't fun for casuals, their audience leaves, so they make no more money. And they have no one else to fight against in the lobby but other like insane players. It's like most people know this. Most streamers know this. So streamers aren't asking only for things that are like hyper competitive or whatever. Most of the time. I'm sure there are some exceptions, but you're usually not going to have like 3 million YouTube subs if you're a complete fucking retard. So like these big streamers that are advocating for changes, they got enough brain power to be like, the game still has to be fun for casuals. Otherwise, I'm going to have no one to play against and I'm going to have no one watching my YouTube channel anymore. So that's like another thing. Streamers don't get quite enough credit for that. But yeah, like, I don't know. And there's SBMM. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, streamers can't be ruining COD if no one listens to them. Or the devs don't listen to them.
Nate Dogg said, new to your stream, I don't think streamers are ruining the game. I actually have learned a lot from watching them and has increased my KD by almost 0.7. Learn new tactics all the time.
Yeah,
that's good. That is one good thing, is you can learn a lot from them. It's watching them constantly.
Yeah. So Travis says they tend to recommend skill gap raising mechanics, which aren't always good. Okay. Yeah, that would be the main thing. That's probably the only thing streamers are asking for most of the time, is like, if you want to be a little bit reductive, but I think in an appropriate way, it is to say they want things that raise the skill gap. Is that not always good? I mean, I guess not. Like, the PA indicator raised the skill gap of the game because you couldn't just get lucky kills anymore. But that's what the average player wanted. Did they stop playing because of it? Like, I don't know. So, but again, they didn't listen to streamers, at least recently, to raise the skill gap. They lowered the skill gap. So, our streamers ruining the game. I'm not saying you're saying that, but yeah. And that is what a ranked mode is for also, which is what JGOD was saying. Like, you should cater to streamers for in your ranked mode. You should have a ranked mode, first of all, which is a huge missed opportunity early on. But then when you do have one, that's where the cheese bullshit should be completely gone. That doesn't have a skill gap, which is, they haven't done a perfect job, but they've done quite a good job of doing exactly that. So, like, I don't think removing one-shot snipers, by the way, ever made sense for ranked Warzone. Balance the snipers instead. I think that should still be a part of ranked Warzone. It's like, one-shot snipers should still be in Warzone, in ranked, in my opinion. But set that aside. Like, they removed gas grenades eventually. They removed the alertness perk. They removed, oh God, what was it? Fuck me. Oh, like fire shotguns, launchers, dumb shit that takes no skill to get kills. They did remove it for ranked. And that makes sense. And if they keep doing that, then you can basically, you can look at ranked Warzone or like ranked multiplayer. And that is what like streamers are asking for. So if streamers are ruining Warzone, ranked and pubs would look no different. Effectively. But they do. So if any of you think their streamers are ruining Warzone, I just don't. I don't know what game you're playing. At least recently. At all. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think most of the people actually commenting that on random TikTok videos, Instagram Reels, I don't even think any of those people play anymore. They just always say streamers like ruin the game. That's why I don't play anymore, this and that. It's like, you don't actually really understand fully what's going on. It's just what they say because they're so bad at the game and they don't have any other excuse. That's really what it comes down to. So they just try to brush it off to something else.
I think what some
somehow
people might
blame streamers for them being terrible at the game.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Anything but themselves not being as good as they think they are. I think another thing people might mean by that, now that you got me thinking about TikTok, they will see streamers like 2-boxing and just getting 1,000 kills in 10 seconds. And they'll comment streamers are ruining Warzone, meaning people shouldn't be this good at the video game. And they're ruining the game by literally killing me. Literally. Not like advocating for changes, but by actually by existing and getting kills on casual players. They're bad for the game. And like, maybe, but how often are you running into those players? Basically never. If you're in that lobby that JGOD was just spectating, how many good players killed him? Like, what if that was Breadman who sniped at him and cracked him and then he went under the hole? You would have heard him charging up the stairs moments later, and then he would have gotten shit on easily, hard. And that would have been it. But Breadman wasn't in that lobby because there is SBMM. So like streamers aren't ruining Warzone in that way either. Unless they're 2-boxing into your lobby, which does happen, but the only reason 2-boxing works is because there is SBMM to cater to you most of the time, and it works.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So like streamers just aren't ruining Warzone. I think it's a crazy take. And then the last thing was a video on the casual mode by JGOD. I have no interest in watching it, and we won't be watching it.
But today we're talking about.
It's also a 20-minute video. But the title is why they need to leave Warzone BR casual alone. I mean, obviously. Why are we even making YouTube videos about it is what bugs me. Because again, who has problems with Warzone casual mode? I don't. A lot of you listening right now play casual mode. Are any of you unhappy with it? If so, why? The only complaint I could see is like, oh, there are too many sweaty players in my BR casual lobby.
But are they actually sweaty?
That's the exact question.
That's the thing. Are
they
actually
sweaty, or are they just a group of other real human beings that are below average, but to you they seem sweaty because you're even further below average? Because I have a feeling they're not that sweaty. I have a feeling they're probably bog standard players at the best, especially if you're seeing them a lot. That's another thing. If you play 10 games of BR casual and you tell me we ran into one really sweaty team in our 10 matches, I could believe that. Because sometimes I guess there are going to be good players for some fucking reason queuing BR casual and tryharding in the final zone. If you tell me 9 out of your 10 matches you ran into a sweaty team in the end game, hey, I don't believe you. I think you are just profoundly below average. And you should play normal matches so you get better and practice against playing against other human beings. But I don't see a world where in 9 out of 10 games, or even 5 out of 10 BR casual games, you're running into a genuinely talented team of like sweaty players. I just don't think that's real. Because again, like I was saying before we started recording, I don't know any decent player that plays a lot of BR casual. No one in our Discord that I know of plays a decent amount of BR casual who you would call a sweaty player. Or like that's their primary game mode especially. I don't know any sweaty players who do that. And of every streamer ever that I've ever watched, seen, heard of, or haven't heard of, none of them play BR casual either. So where are these sweaty players? Like, I'm sure some exist, maybe, but it's gotta be rare as fuck. Because good players get bored as fuck doing that. So unless they're grinding weapon camos and then they're rolling you over in the end game, which I think is fair, and if anything they need to change about BR casual, don't allow people to unlock camos or challenges in that mode. That would fix the problem. Because if you are running into a lot of sweaty teams, again, I don't believe you, but if it were true, it would almost certainly be because most of those teams are like grinding weapon camos and then they just make it to end game because they're decent. That actually could be a problem. I could see that being the one legitimate reason why you might see some sweaty players. So like, yeah, disallow camo grinding in it and challenge unlocks. I approve if that's what you're advocating for. And that would help the problem if that's a problem. I don't know if it is. And if you still haven't gotten your camo by now, first of all, stop trying.
Give up.
Give up.
Yeah.
Abandon hope. But also you could go do it in Plunder, which is equally easy. So who cares if you can't do it in BR casual? So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, if anything, casual mode is probably the reason I bet a lot of them say like the lobbies are sweaty It's probably just jarring going from wiping a squad of bots where I've seen gameplay. Half the time they're just standing there looking the other direction or just walking in the middle of the street. It's just probably jarring for you to go from that to your next fight is some guy sliding around a corner, jumping, shooting you. That guy's probably a 1.5 ED, certainly nothing amazing. But because you're used to also fighting so many bots, you're not expecting somebody to all of a sudden be human and be doing something different. And you're like, oh, that guy's sweaty. But it's like, okay, if you're in a normal lobby, that would be just, I mean, every single player, basically. So I don't think these players... yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go and play it. I really don't care at the end of the day, but I don't believe you that there are that many sweaty players in there. I'm just not going to believe you.
Yeah, that's kind of...
Occasionally, definitely, like the dumb shit little TikTok kids that are posting gameplay of like 50 kills and trying to pretend it's a real match. Those certainly exist, but I don't think there are many of them at all. So,
yeah, I've never seen it. I saw Jay Cucci, who's like a Rebirth streamer, play it once because his chat told him to. So he was like, all right, fine. So he played it once. He won, of course. And he had like 67 kills. I'm not kidding. Like, it was so many.
Yeah.
And then he's like not talking the whole time. The match ends, he wins, and he goes, yo, I'm never doing that shit again. That was boring as fuck. And he never did it again. Because obviously. Yeah. Like... So yeah, I'm with you. I just don't believe these people. So, but if it is a problem, it's because that you let people camo grind in it. I do think that's dumb after further reflection. Because in theory, there would be a problem with that. Because you see a lot of sweaty players who just want to get their camos as fast as they can. But again, even that I don't really believe. Because most people who want the camo, almost all of them, already have it by now. I mean, it's been months. So, anyway, yeah.
Tony in chat, so I tend to play casual, blah, blah. I got a squad full level 300 plus. That isn't every time. You guys have to remember, like what Raz said earlier, just because you're Prestige Master level 300, believe me, I know firsthand from people in our Discord, does not mean you're good, does not even mean you're average. There are people in our Discord who are below average that are Prestige Master, from zombies, grinding multiplayer, just grinding camos, doing stuff like that, so they level up a lot. They prestige every time. They pop their tokens. It doesn't mean they're going to be good. Now, if it's a squad of like level 1000s at this point in Warzone, okay, yeah, probably those are super sweats. But just because someone's Prestige Master 100 to 300, I see the levels of some of these players in our Discord, and believe me, they're not sweaty players at all. They just play the game every single day for hours.
Exactly. And like if I see a level 300
rank doesn't mean
more,
anything.
Yeah, it doesn't mean much. If I see a level 300 when I'm playing a normal match of Warzone, I tend to think they're going to be better than average, but that's because I'm seeing them in a normal match of Warzone. So this is what they play. So it's likely that they got to level 300 playing mostly Warzone. So they probably are better than average. But if I saw a level 300 in BR casual, well, who are the people playing BR casual? People that don't play a lot of Warzone, probably. So I'm thinking that guy plays multiplayer or zombies or whatever a lot. And that's why he's level 300. Yeah, exactly. So that doesn't mean much for sure. At all. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, and yeah, like you said, there's very little correlation between your level and how good you are. So anyway, there's some, but not much. But yeah,
there's certainly some.
Yeah. So anyway, that's about it for today. Yeah, I mean, literally nothing happened this week. There were no patches. There were no updates. We did get told 3 weeks ago that more info would be coming next week. That would be 2 weeks ago from now. On changes to Warzone or anything. Didn't get it. Haven't gotten it. And this is not surprising to me because Activision loves to do this, where they do a ton of communication and pitching and promo for the big new update. Usually it means a new game. And then they're writing a lot of blog posts and tweets and fucking interviews and videos and TikToks. And then they fall off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And we just don't hear from them unless it's every 6 weeks when they do their updates. We're back there already. We are already back there. So expect to hear nothing except for the blog post we're going to get hopefully soon, because once we get the blog post, we're almost certainly getting the Season 3 Reloaded update a week after that. So anyway, yeah, we were hoping to hear that and go over that today. There is a world where we get that tomorrow on Friday. I don't find it likely at all.
I saw some tweets earlier too, even JGOD was saying like they've been really late with everything lately. Like there should be a blog post out today, basically, for a Reloaded update, and there just isn't. But I think in the past we have been getting some things on Friday. I feel like that's happened, or even like noon on Thursdays. There have been some weird times, so maybe we'll still get it. If not, I mean, it's got to be like Monday, right? When is mid-season supposed to come out?
I mean, I don't know. They haven't said anything, so I don't know.
Next week is week 4, so it should be next week, right?
Yeah, I thought it was supposed to come out this month for sure.
Should be
at
like
some point.
The 30th, the last day of the month.
But I mean, yeah, they're either getting away from their formula of releasing the blog post a week early or a week before the update, or we're just not getting it for a while, or we get the blog post tomorrow. Like those seem to be the options. So hopefully on Saturday, our next episode, we can cover that blog post, because I'm very, again, super curious to see what we get. But if not, we will figure something out. And right now it's a Season 3 Reloaded kind of waiting room, because the game's still very fun, very playable, but I am ready for a weapon meta change. A lot. Nerf the HDR. That's what I always say. So that's it. We do have some announcements before we go. We are running free trials for our Patreon. Patreon.com/Dropshot. We've got a new patron, CJ, our newest gold patron. Welcome, big dog. Appreciate it. Early access, ad-free, and bonus eps. Patreon.com/Dropshot. And it's the best way to support the show. We are running free trials, which Andy has taken advantage of. And this is not a thanks, Andy, but it's an acknowledgement that you do exist, and you are now a free trial member. Sign up. And you can do that too. For the month of April, you can join the gold tier, which is our most bang for your buck tier. For free, get bonus eps, early access, and ad-free public eps for a week, no cost to you. And if you like it, sign up. Our latest bonus ep was kind of a Yap Sesh Season 3 second impressions review conversation about the game. And we've got more stuff coming up. I would like to do something on Season 3 Reloaded on Patreon. We will definitely do that by next month, surely. Hopefully we can get that in for one of our bonus eps this month. But either way, check it out. Best way to support the show, patreon.com/Dropshot. And another great way Alec G took advantage of. He messaged us, "Keep up the good work, boys," and attached to it 50 real United States American dollars. W. Alec, thank you very much, man. Very much appreciate that. That's king shit. We love to see that. So thank you, Alec G, for the very generous 50 bucks. Yeah. That's a lot of money, and we need it. And we appreciate it. Fuck the IRS. But thank you very much, Alec. More than
what are you doing for the hangout tomorrow? Something special, right?
Oh, we have a Patreon Damascus hangout.
We forgot to announce like the last 3 months on the Thursday episode. So here's your announcement.
Yes. We have forgotten, but yes, for our Damascus patrons, every month we do a hangout. This month, head mod Benji has suggested a little trivia game.
Oh,
that we can do.
Trivia?
Little trivia night. So that's what we're doing for our Damascus hangout. So if you're a Damascus patron, or if you want to become one, you can do that and then join us for our monthly hangout. For this month, it'll be, the 25th at around 6:30 Pacific time, PM. And we're going to do trivia night. Never done it before. I think it's a fun as fuck idea, and I'm very excited. So that's what we will be doing. So if you're a Damascus patron, or if you want to be there, patreon.com/Dropshot. Again, make sure you link your Patreon and Discord roles so you can join the channel. That is going to be fun. Unfortunately, none of you will win because I'm a trivia fucking god. If there's anything I'm good at, it's knowing dumb shit that doesn't matter, except for games like this. So if you guys want to come compete for second place, you can do that. So be here. 25th, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you again, Alec, and thank you again, CJ, as well. Activision devs do not play their own game.
Nope.